Yo, welcome back to the Backyard Basketball Podcast.
Play Quit Smoke.
Presented by the Ordinary Podcasting Network. I just about forgot what show this was. I was going to say the Pit Stop Podcast. That's the other one. Welcome
you should
back.
check out that podcast, though.
It's a good one. Did you watch some of that F1 race?
Well, yeah, if anybody hasn't, they should check it out. A lot of controversy. I have a lot of thoughts. You're not going to hear it on that podcast. Plug to start off the NBA Backyard Basketball Podcast. Let's go. It's a big night tonight, dude.
It's a really big night. Why is it a big night? Steph Curry?
Well, I guess when people hear this podcast, it'll already have happened. But
I hear Steve Kerr's going to sit him. He's going to rest him. He's going to bench him.
Oh, for the whole
game. Yeah.
What a big slap in the face to like all the crowds that come like last minute. Like his own father is flying out to Madison Square Garden. This has happened in New York, by the way, but he's flying him out to Madison Square Garden.
Kerr was just kidding. He won't bench him. He'll get it in like the first two shots. I was thinking to myself how awesome it would be if they just kind of heaved one up. If they got the first tip off and nobody ran up the court and Curry just threw one up just to tie it.
Yeah, just a halfie.
Oh my God. The Garden would be wrecked.
It would be.
You know what's crazy about New York is Steph really wanted to get drafted to New York. That was the theory. And you know, you could kind of see his expression as teams were passing him by and he was kind of like, okay, this could happen. And there was a lot of talk about New York. And then he goes to Golden State and he becomes one of the greatest of all time, if not, and soon to be the best shooter of all time.
The best shooter of all time. Because he will have, so for everyone in the audience who isn't aware, I had to look these numbers up. So your top 3-point shooters of all time. So 30 got Reggie Miller, right? Who was up there for a while. And he has 2,563 pointers. So Steph Curry right now is at 2,972 threes. And Ray Allen, one of my personal faves, but I'm also very bittersweet about Ray Allen. He's at 2,973. So one more three will tie it with Ray Allen. And then 2 threes here tonight is going to make him number 1 3-point field goal leader of all time. And
that's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. And he played 18 seasons, Ray Allen did. And what's Curry on? Curry was drafted in 09, 08?
Was it 08?
It was 09.
09, there you go.
It was 09. He was the he was the 7th overall pick. And Minnesota had one opportunity to get him and chose not to. Went with Ricky Rubio instead. But you know what? Hey, it's okay. They've got a back-to-back pick. And no, they chose Michael Flynn, who doesn't play in the league anymore. So
they were worried about Steph because of his ankles. Remember? They thought he had weak ankles.
Isn't that crazy?
And they're brittle.
And all he had to do was just go and show that he could break ankles instead.
Yeah, break other people's ankles. And also break the stats where it's like, yeah, like you said, he's only like how many ever seasons in. He's only 31 years old, so he's still got like what,
Oh man, he's also like rarely been injured. I mean, he's had a few in the last couple of years where things are, but nothing severe, no major surgeries.
I'm trying to think, how old was Reggie Miller when he retired? Like 36.
So that's because he was drafted in 87. So that's 18 years. That's the same as Ray Allen.
Dude, he was like 40. He would have been like 40 because if he was born in 65 and he left the league in 2005. Wow. So, I mean, I don't know if Steph could play to 40, but like, I think he could play to late 30s. No problem. I don't know. Maybe like, it's crazy to think with the stats and the, just the technology involved in health of these players. Like, I mean, it's just, you see the best of the best usually when it comes to these athletes, which is really cool, like to see how the innovation is happening, but these players are breaking, what the old expectation was, the old guard left and right in all sorts of different leagues all the time these days.
Oh yeah. You want this. You want the game to evolve, and you want
Mhm.
the records to be broken. There's some really high records that I don't know if we'll ever see touched, 100 points in a game. There's some that I just don't think that we'll ever see happen because it's evolved away from that kind of a thing. But I do feel like it's harder for players to play that as long, just because of the style of the game. It's faster, more physical. You just there, now we're a little bit more prone to injury, so they got to take the care of themselves in a different way. I see Steph Curry following the footsteps of another great basketball player.
Oh yeah.
And I foresee him probably not ending his career as soon as this person did, but I foresee Steph Curry ending up playing professional golf and succeeding like J.R. Smith is. He just posted a 4.0 GPA. I'm very proud of this guy. This is a guy who ran through the streets. That was a beautiful segue,
shirtless. That was a beautiful segue. Yeah, gonna fight in, was it New Orleans? He was gonna fight somewhere.
He's committed. He's grinding. I don't know who he paid to do his homework, but
get out of here. He
worked
worked
for
hard.
him. Good for him.
But dude, the guy joined was it back in October? I think he joined his first golf tournament as well too. And he's part of whatever the team is at that university. I mean, the guy, he's
good,
making some amazing accomplishments.
It's just, I'm
glad you brought him up.
It's a little odd,
I'm glad you brought him up.
Golf.
Yeah. Well, yeah, him but what's kind of funny? I mean, a lot of these sharpshooter guys, it's that hand-eye coordination. I think it just, maybe it translates to golf. It'll be really interesting, not only to see what Steph does for the rest of his career here. What does this number end at? Because it's going to be a number that I don't think is going to be assailable for a very, very long time.
Well, if the Warriors keep playing the way they are this year, I mean, this is the crazy thing. Steph Curry had an off night where he made 5 of 15 from 3 and still poured in 26 to beat the Indiana Pacers, who are a dismal team, but were leading the entire game.
Yep.
And still to be.
And he said he had the jitters too, right? Which I believe him.
The jitters.
Well, the pressure of all that.
How can Steph Curry have the jitters after how many championships has he won? He lives in Golden State.
Dude, because this is a special moment. This is I think for Steph, and you can see it. If anyone wants to look, there's a photo on Instagram or whatnot. You can find it online. Before this game, Steph's sitting down and he's got the jerseys of Ray Allen and Reggie Miller behind him. This really means it's one of those special.
You think he put them
just
there?
Him too. I don't know. Somebody else maybe put him there. Maybe it was his dad. Maybe his dad put him there. That'd be really special. Yeah. But I think, because this is it's just Steph. Steph has had these accomplishments with Golden State, awesome. And he really cares about the team and the success, and it was a team effort. But this is a moment that's just Steph alone, and it's only his alone to step onto. And so it's wow.
Well, Clay kind of got out of the way, not willingly, but it was the Splash Brothers, right? They couldn't have done it without each other to be the two best shooters in the league.
They push each other.
And now for Steph to continue to be as dominant for 2 years now without Klay Thompson.
Let alone the injuries he's had to go through recently too. Yeah, you're it's admirable. You love the guy. He's just got such an infectious charisma about him. It's hard not to like him. It's interesting too. I see people have discussions about this. When you look at kind of the face of the league, you get, I feel this triad of some people think, well, LeBron James still holds the crown of the face of the NBA because of his dominant play. Or you get some people say, well, Kevin Durant, he's the best player. You even get a small group saying, well, what about Giannis Antetokounmpo? He just won the championship last. I have a huge pool that say Steph Curry could potentially is kind of stepping into the face of the NBA. And it's kind of crazy to see, that was one argument they always say about MJ was the competition around him. And a lot of people would say no, when you look at those series, when you watch The Last Dance, you see how some of those players he had to play against, Gary Payton, Karl Malone, at his peak moment. Like, it was tough competition.
Absolutely.
But it's always that argument is like, was that competition softer than what we see right now, even like LeBron James in this moment with all of this crazy talent and skill?
Yeah, man.
I don't know.
It's not just LeBron though. It's KD.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to say Harden, but right now it's Giannis.
James Harden's fourth right now on the 3-point, by the way. So he's at 2,509. So he right now needs something like 51. He needs 51 more 3-pointers, which he could probably get this season.
Not this season.
No,
not James Harden. Not this
Maybe
season,
not.
and not with the Nets. I'll tell you why in a little bit. But I liked what they said about Del Curry. Had a comment about how he never thought that this would happen. He had high expectations, but not in his wildest dreams did he think that this kind of a thing would happen. That's and for a guy who was a very good shooter in his time as well, that's some high. It's just high praise and respectful. And they compared it when I saw this, they compared it to what LeVar Ball said about if ever, LaMelo ever asked for any advice from MJ. And LeVar's like, what would he ask? What would he say? MJ hasn't won a championship in how long? Like, no, dude, no, LeVar. I mean, I get that's your shtick, but you can't disrespect the GOAT, man. You can't do it. That's just something you can't do. And furthermore, you can't disrespect your son's boss.
Oh, I'm sure LaMelo is just like, oh my God, Dad. And like, anytime he has talked to Jordan, he's like, man, I just think you're the coolest. Like, we can smoke a cigar together, dude. Like, in the off
probably
season.
Just cowers.
But I'm sure there's good praise because that Charlotte team, is playing pretty
well.
Pretty good, man. Yeah. I wanted to bring up this interesting thing I heard last week. It was like a podcast I was listening to, and it was like a pod that was like more kind of doing like a deep dive. It's something new that they started on The Ringer. Kevin O'Connor has. It's called like Into the Void, I think. And he brought these guys on who are like, they have their own podcast and whatnot. I apologize to forget the name off the top of my head, but they like are from Arizona and they focus on the Phoenix Suns. And there was one thing that they said in that whole pod when I was listening to it, that one got me not only fascinated about seeing where the Phoenix Suns are right now in the league and kind of the growth that they've had recently, but also like a compelling argument to, some reflection of success that we're seeing in the NBA so far of certain teams. Like, I think there's, some obvious element of pattern, but I also think there's something, a bit interesting here. So
what do you mean?
The one thing they talked about was pace. So, and Chris Paul, I guess typically has always really liked to play with a very slow pace. Pretty much this whole time in Houston, it was very slow. They said the last time that this season, so it wasn't even last season, but this season, the last time Chris Paul has played at this fast of pace, where Phoenix Suns right now this season are third. They're the third team overall in the league in pace. So
how do they measure that?
I'm not really sure. It's
Points
more of an
per second
advanced stat metric, but yeah, it's something maybe to do conversion. Ultimately, it means you're playing really fast, right?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of transition, a lot of the ball, probably moving, scoring in transition, just playing very quickly. And we always know that, like, some teams that are going to play with high pace in the regular season, I feel like, because it's the regular season, some guys play a bit more lax. It's a bit more fast paced. Once it gets to the playoff, the defense locks in, the game slows down, right? A team, if you can play well with pace, great. But once you get to the playoffs, how do you do in the half court? If you can't do well in the half court, you're not going to succeed in the playoffs. That's, my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really cool. Like, they said that last time Chris Paul, it was like, I don't know, maybe his first couple seasons that he was on the Clippers, that he played. Remember Lob City, right?
Yeah.
That was the last time he played with that kind of fast a pace. And they think it really is a huge attribute looking at this pace for this team that kind of dominates the success it's having in the league. Now, like I said, obviously they're playing faster, maybe some other teams, and they're just kind of like, if they have faster pace, they're winning. You're converting more, right?
Yep.
More actions per minute. Another way you could say it. But
I think also what's around them, the way that the Phoenix system is set up, it really, it thrives on that fast break. There's some, high flying rebounders that definitely help Chris Paul's game, and he doesn't seem to be slowing down at all.
No, not at all. It's crazy. Yeah, continuing to adapt. And they were talking about with DeAndre Ayton and the unique position about him too, which I think you see some semblance of this also within the Golden State Warriors. It attributes to their success on the defensive end. Him and Draymond and the respect. And you know what? I'll get to this in a little bit. But there's another player I think of that maybe in this kind of system would really flourish. But those two guys, so for example, with Phoenix and Ayton, the way that he can kind of hold the paint and be very flexible because he can move so quickly. A Mobley can do this as well too from Cleveland, that he can kind of take over any position. By doing so, that allows the team then with all your wings to be a bit more risky and reaching for deflections, making more aggressive defensive plays. And by doing so, then you get all those opportunities of pace, of points in transition. And I think because Ayton's success to be able to anchor down the defense in that regard, and they can play in that style, they're just overwhelming teams. And I think even when you get into the playoffs, and sure, it's going to go more in the half court, still in that type of way, you're going to be able to get kind of some wounds here or there throughout a game where I feel I always remember this watching LeBron and D Wade on Miami Heat, those seasons when they won those championships, and we get into the playoffs, and it was they had incredible, their defense was incredible. They could play well in the half court, but their defense was so good that they were getting still crazy pace transition points in these playoff games and games 5, 6, and 7 in series. And it's you're not going to win. Yeah, you're not going to win the NBA championship. There's no way if you can't stop a team from doing stuff like that, relatively easy. And I think this Phoenix team can do it. I think Golden State team can do it. I think, Cleveland's doing really well. Maybe that attributes also to some of that success. There's a formula here, man.
Okay, but could you imagine DeAndre Ayton with the spit and the fire that Kevin Garnett had?
Oh, man. Yeah, that'd be nuts.
Oh, my goodness.
It seems like a very nice guy.
He's a very nice guy, and he looks like an old man. And he's what, 21? He looks like an old man. Which is, but a friendly one. I mean, I guess most old men are friendly. Well, so that's debatable. But the fact that he kind of looks like George Karl. No, not George Karl. Who was the big on Utah?
Karl Malone.
Karl Malone. That's who I'm thinking of. This is who DeAndre Ayton reminds me of. Just a big, dominant guy. What if DeAndre Ayton was with the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Well, I think they already got that guy in
well, this is my point. This is exactly my point. Yeah. Segue to Cleveland. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Lauri Markkanen, Taco Fall. Do we have to be at? Is it you have to be this height to ride this
hype train of winning?
To ride this team? They're sitting 4th in the East.
Yeah, they've been playing really well. If I look at, I want to see their schedule, look at their previous games here. Because they've been on they've been on an 8-2 win streak. So looking at their previous games, they've beaten the Heat, the Kings, the Timberwolves, the Bulls, the Bucks. Or no, the Bucks beat them. The Wizards, the Heat. They beat the Mavericks, the Magic. Okay, so yeah, pretty much all. It's crazy. The only teams that they've been really the upper echelon, the Nets, the Suns, the Warriors, the Bucks, the Jazz beat them. So, I mean, these are some really tough teams. Yeah. But the fact they beat the Bulls, and how this team's really competitive. And I think for how early on in their rebuild mode, they're pretty far ahead. It's great. This is another team now I'm really starting to think because of its success. And we're looking at, this trade happening in February, this trade deadline. I got this weird, eerie feeling, man, that I feel like there's going to be a lot of action this season.
What with trades or just
leading
in
up to
terms
the
of
leading up to the trade deadline. I mean, there's so many teams itching. The Sixers, Portland, Pacers, the Mavericks talking with Kristaps Porzingis recently.
So this is the fun thing with the Cavs. The Cavs, the Hornets, they're in a really great spot because the expectations are this high right now. Yeah. So to be able to find the success with the young raw talent that they have right now, it's gonna work. They're gonna win games, which they are. We're seeing them on a 4-game win streak. But then, like you said, it's the championship contenders that they don't really have what it takes. And it's not about scoring necessarily. It's about a full 60 minutes of basketball. So until they get, and this could be the thing that really, like you said, with the interesting trade deadline this year, they could say, okay, let's try it now. And they could, make a swing for a Bradley Beal or a Ben Simmons or a to really kind of put focus on how this thing is going to work out. If they don't, that's okay too. That's okay.
I'm really looking at Sacramento, and I think the Pacers.
You're always looking at those teams. What is this last week?
I think Sacramento, the Pacers, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. There's a formula with those 3 teams that I honestly think all 3 of those teams could like jostle some things around, kind of equally have some success. I don't know if you've seen this dude, but recently after that Kings Raptors game where the Raptors were leading by like 70 points or something in the first half, I read.
Yeah.
The Kings had a player only meeting after that game, which I get it. I mean, like, they're like, we got to figure our shit out, but there's so much dysfunction happening there. They fired their head coach. There's a lot of potential pieces. Like you could, I don't know, maybe De'Aaron Fox, maybe they're willing to part ways, or Halliburton could be an amazing player for.
I just don't think that they're gonna. They're kind of in this same.
But they're
not winning right now, so I can't say they're in the same position as Cleveland, but they are when it comes to rebuilding. And Tyrese Halliburton is a cornerstone. De'Aaron Fox is a cornerstone. Those aren't guys that you just go and throw around.
Davion Mitchell's a cornerstone too, right? You got 3 core pieces, but can you keep all 3, or do you do 2 of 3, right? And then
so you're like, Cleveland's like, okay, we're a bit too big with our big men, and Sacramento's like, we've got way too many guards. Just let's have a little, royal shake around here. I don't think that's what you call it, but some sort of, we'll just do a switcheroo.
I think I know they've always talked about wanting to trade Colin Sexton. So I don't know how well he's kind of been doing this season so far, but like, I think the season prior, there was definitely a regression. Right now, so far this year, he's 16 points per game. It looks like Darius Garland's rocking an 18.9 points per game. I really like Darius Garland. I think, with Jared Allen, Mobley, Darius Garland, and maybe you could ship Colin Sexton with a couple of your other bigs and get another piece in there with those 3 guys. Like, that's really something. Yeah, I like this. I like this Cleveland team, man. That's sweet. Well, you said this is the bright future Cavs, man.
Yeah, man. You said that they beat the Bulls.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you right about now that anybody and anything can beat the Bulls.
Oh, wow. These are some harsh words coming from a guy who's been really rooting for the Bulls this year. Why? What's going on?
10 of their players are in health and safety protocol. They're not even getting a chance to play.
This is like kind of the first big, like, like COVID thing for the NBA. You know what I mean? Like,
well, in the city of Chicago, their safe health and safety department were the ones that said, pulled the plug on the games, because I think the NBA was intending to try to go on with a misfit group of players. So they canceled the game Tuesday, and they canceled the upcoming game at the Raptors on Thursday. The Raptors also have their own COVID issues. Masai testing positive. Jack and Matt Devlin are also in protocol, just being in close contact, so they can't even
Was
call the games.
wasn't Van Vliet in protocol?
I don't
Am I
think I've
just
heard
thinking
Van Vliet.
things?
No, Van Vliet was in the news though recently for announcing a new scholarship in partnership with the University of Toronto for a basketball scholarship of a Black or
There you go.
Indigenous player. But I don't
That's
think
right.
he's in COVID protocol.
That's right.
Um,
That's crazy, man. I mean, yeah, to have all those guys and yeah, you know,
are we going to
it's
see more
it's tricky.
postponements?
Maybe. I don't know.
I would hope.
I would hope not. But you can't rule it out.
But what a terrible like position to be in, sitting second in the East. That kind of excitement and confidence for a team that hasn't been there for a little while, and now to like 10 guys, man. That's 2 lines.
Yeah. And not only are you think, well, whatever for the games and the scheduling, like because they'll find a way to sort that out. But you got to think about these players and what their health and how they're going to be feeling coming back onto the court. And there's always been, you know, some relative consistency of fatigue, exhaustion, and this is one of the highest cardio sports out there. You're constantly running, so I'm sure, you know, if you can't, I couldn't imagine having that, you know, this disease and then having to go back out into a court and run for, you know, 30 some minutes. So it's brutal, man. It's brutal for Chicago. It's really unfortunate. They're second right now in the East. You know, maybe what you pitch for reality, you just try to hold on for dear life until the new year until you can recuperate. And maybe you're this middle of the pack team going into the playoffs, which maybe wouldn't be such a bad thing, you know?
Yeah, so long as they get there, you know, I think that's the expectation.
They'll be a playoff team for sure. Yeah. I don't think that wouldn't be out of the question. I mean, garnering like, you know, how some of these teams in the East too, like New York's just been, the Knicks have been such a, you know, like what are they? And even my Celtics, you know, I feel like kind of, I feel there's, you know, winds blowing in the trees. That's the way I would describe what's happening in Boston right now, dude. There's this wind,
a shaky start
blowing in the trees,
and it's new. It's a new system, new personnel.
New personnel, and I think guys kind of more stepping into their own and being like, you know, I don't know, maybe I should be the number one.
Right.
You know, I'm just a little worried about that, man.
Let's see it.
I'm just a little, you know. What if one day Brown's like, I can't play with Tatum anymore? Tatum's like, I can't play with Jaylen Brown anymore.
And there will come a day
and we haven't even moved Marcus Smart yet. And that news comes out. And I'm just going to be like freaking my hands on my head, man.
What if they got somebody else that you would actually be thrilled to see on your team?
I would not want to trade Jaylen Brown for Ben Simmons, but if there was somebody
he made it this
having
long.
to trade anything.
Ding, ding, ding. How long was that? 30 minutes. He made it 30 minutes without talking about Ben Simmons. Well, seeing as how we're talking about guys we don't like.
Great segue.
I'll tell you somebody else who's really excited to play during the time of COVID. That's a one Kyrie Irving.
Why is he excited? Can you please?
Why is he excited?
First, how do we know he's excited to play? Can you let the?
Because he hasn't played all season. He definitely, you know,
we haven't heard from him.
Well, he's been contacted by probably every single player on the Nets. And today on, what was it, Instagram or something? He posts a short video of him lacing up his basketball shoes, which really just means he's hanging out in the basketball gym playing basketball. Guy's a basketball player. He wants to play,
dude.
So what do you think the concession has been?
An article just came out. There were internal discussions. How internal discussions could these be if they're being posted all over the web? I don't know, not very internal, but there were discussions of Kyrie Irving for Kristaps Porzingis, and Durant was like, "Yo, they're gonna trade your ass to Dallas, get your fucking shoes on and get back here. We're first in the East right now. We need you. Let's go win a championship. And Kyrie's like, oh my God, they're actually going to do it. They're actually going to trade me. Oh my God, they're actually going to do something and call my bluff. And fuck. So he's going to concede and fucking get the shots or whatever.
I don't think he is.
Let's get on with it, dude. What, he's going to do like a fake?
Do you have to be vaccinated in the state of Texas?
Not in Texas, no. So you're saying he's getting traded to
Dallas or Chicago? I don't think you have to be vaccinated. Well, I think but the league itself has a mandate, right?
But no, some cities it doesn't mandate. So like some players,
just don't play that city.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you're seeing it in the NHL right now.
Yep.
And I think if he wants to play basketball and he's as stubborn as he seems to be, he will end up in Texas, man. And it's frustrating because I don't think that that's a good place for that team. Kyrie and Luka.
Oh God, no.
I don't see it. No. But maybe Houston.
There you go. Yeah. Send to Houston.
Kyrie and Jalen Green.
No, Houston wouldn't want that either.
No, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't want that.
OKC would. OKC would be like, okay, listen here. I've got a really good trade for you. Really, really, really good deal. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to give us Kyrie Irving. Okay. You're also going to give us 3 first-round picks, and we will give you one of our bench players. And I bet you Brooklyn pulls the trigger. And no, not Brooklyn. Kevin Durant pulls the trigger.
he says it live here. This is the first place you heard it, folks.
OKC will be up Kyrie Irving and 3 future firsts. I don't know how they're going to get those from Brooklyn, but you heard it here first. Yeah.
They're going to give him Alexei Pokusevsky for Kyrie Irving. That's
he's playing all right.
Yeah, he's 7 feet, so you got that.
So, but what are the chances he plays for the Nets? Is there any chance that he got the vaccine?
He's going to get the shot. I think he's going to come back and play. He said too, right? It wasn't the issue about getting it or whatever. It was about standing up for the, what do you say? Like unvoiced or whatever it was. Yeah, he'll play. It's happening. These are just his little subtle ways of kind of telling us exactly when, this. Maybe within a month. I'm just so tired, man. I'm just so tired of this semantics.
With Kyrie Irving or Ben Simmons?
With Kyrie Irving. With Ben Simmons, though, like I said, Ben Simmons, look at DeAndre Ayton. Look at our guy.
They're all our guys.
Draymond Green. Our guy. I love Draymond Green. Okay.
Yeah.
He is, look at those guys. That's the team. You need to be on a team where you can play that role and the team can play that way. And that's the formula to succeed in the NBA today. And you'll be a top team and actually have a striking chance for an NBA championship.
That's how.
And what team that is, I don't know, but there's some there's something brewing. There's wind in the trees all over in these cities. Portland, Philadelphia, Indiana, Dallas, Sacramento, maybe even Chicago. There's going to be some more. Man, I think, you know what, because also too, this upcoming off season, I don't think there's a lot of movement happening. I don't think there's a lot of free agents. So why not strike while the iron's hot?
Nice. Hot irons and windy trees. I'm trying to figure out what that means exactly. Rustling or like there's something coming or impending. Or is it exactly a magical thing? Okay.
I think it's like impending. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. It's like the calm before the storm or the fight. Gotcha. You know what I mean?
That's it. The wind in the trees.
Last thing I just wanted to say really quickly and get your thoughts on it in terms of the calm before the storm that is never coming. Storm is never going to come.
So is there wind in the trees then?
There's no. These trees, I think, are kind of starting
Windless.
to. Yeah, and it's I'm scared, dude. I'm worried. I wanted to get your thoughts on if you saw in the news about Zion, and there was another setback in his foot.
Oh.
Is this going to turn out to be a story where it's like more like a great, was it Greg Oden? Was that his name?
Yeah, but you know what? Greg Oden didn't have the hype that Zion has. Zion's a one-worded name. Is Zion. And I feel really bad, man. I'm really excited to see this guy play basketball. I'm so excited to play him to watch him play basketball that I seek out highlights of his college career, which was one season.
Yeah,
that's how good Zion Williamson was. And it just sucks because it's like maybe he's just too heavy. But Shaq doesn't break his bones just from walking around. I don't know, man. He just seems big. And you see it with large bodies, the skeletal system, all of that stuff. It's just it's susceptible.
I remember like hearing a bit, they would talk of his gait, like how he walked.
Yeah.
And it was like something like this hopping and jumping and movement. And maybe it didn't create that proper alignment with his body kind of top down. So especially that, when you're jumping up and coming down and there's a lot of compression. So maybe because that there's not that proper alignment or that alignment that's helping him, it's more conducive than to him to fall to injury when he tries to perform these feats. So it almost feels it's like some sort of habitual thing. Like, this is a long process maybe for all this stuff to come together, but I hope it eventually comes together. And it's like, I think to myself, holy crap, he came out the same year. He was drafted, came into the league the same year as John Morant. Yeah. And look at where John Morant is now.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's just hard, just so disheartening to see, the setback of not having that opportunity to,
Absolutely. So what are they saying his recovery is now?
Well, they said it was like his right toe, like the outermost part of the toe.
Was he got a bunion
of his foot? Is like, it's just pain. It's pain. They did surgery or something in that area. And it's like, I think the bone, which is supposed to heal and grow, it's regressing or something like that. So he was performing stuff and they had, cut it off. Okay.
Just cut it off.
You know how much that would, much that would mess up your balance? That toe is so important for balance, dude. You would just like fall over all the time, man. Literally.
Well, if it meant like that it would be like basketball.
It's like a wooden chair, and you take out one of the stools. It's got 4 legs, and you take one of them away. Yeah, and then you go and stand on that thing. Yeah, and you just fall and you fall over, right?
Well, you can learn how to balance on 3. I think you can.
And then jump up like 10 feet in the air or 15.
Well, he seems to be able to do that regardless.
Bash into a basket and like come down with a force of like 5 G's or some crazy shit. He rips sneakers with his force.
Yes. I want to see him back on the court, man.
Oh, man.
So what he needs to do is sit upside down with a bunch of ice, tensor that shit up.
There you go.
Watch some Netflix.
Learn from a guy who's well versed in this recently.
On the road to recovery.
We should find Zion's number and you give him a shout. Give him a
some physio tricks.
Yeah. And then tell me we believe in him.
He's so friendly. He just seems so nice.
Liquid smoke.
You want to see him succeed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's do it again next week.
Sounds great. Congrats, Steph. And congrats, JR.
Big time. Thanks again, everybody, for listening to the Backyard Basketball Podcast. And we'll see you next week.
Ciao.
I guess we won't really see them, but I know they'll be there.
They will. For sure.